Welcome back to the channel. This is your Manchester United versus Lyon match preview, first leg in the Europa League. Now, this is where our season starts. This is where it's our most important time of the season. And what I like to, sort of debate with certain fans at the moment is that I know United have been crap this season. That is absolutely evidently clear. We're 13th in the league, for God's sake, out of every single domestic trophy. We're not going to win the Premier League anytime soon, and neither are Arsenal. And this is where I'm going to get onto a bit about my, you could say, little unpopular opinion. Arsenal fans are relying, their only season that's relying on them now is possibly winning the Champions League. And after a brilliant display against Real Madrid where they won 3-0, Declan Rice turned into James Ward-Prowse, David Beckham, Roberto Carlos all in one night. It was absolutely superb. But this is where my argument is for United, is that all our season is resting on European glory and we're getting hate for it. Now, I understand it's Europa League and Champions League, it's a bit different, but how good would it be if it was an Arsenal versus United in the Super League, like just for, like, obviously the Europa League winner versus the Champions League winner? I thought it'd be quite good, but obviously we need to talk about Lyon, and ONANA has been mouthing off, and Nemanja Matic said pretty much, because ONANA said something about how we're ready, we're going to be better than them, blah, 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 and Nemanja Matic, ex-United player, just turns around and absolutely destroys him by saying that if you're Schmeichel or Van der Sar or De Gea, you can say those things, but when you're the worst goalkeeper in Man United's history, statistically, you can't really be talking like that. And I thought that was quite funny, to be honest, because it makes it entertaining. It makes the game more exciting now, because no doubt you could be watching in the tunnel, or you could be watching if these players are communicating on the pitch, or when you have to shake hands before kickoff actually starts, if there's going to be any like altercations or beef between these players. And it reminds you of the old football days, and it's a bit of drama, and it makes the games more exciting, because press conferences now are absolutely boring. But you know what, we need to talk about Lyon, like I said, and how are they going to shape up? Pretty much like every European team, 4-2-1-3, and they'll use the touchline, they'll run down the flank, they'll try and create, they'll press with a high line. Pretty much, like I said, like every European team. Like, Lyon aren't typically special. They've done well in the Europa League this season. Obviously, I think they beat their previous team in the round of 16. I think it was like 7-1 or something daft like that. I can't remember which team it was, but I remember it was a mad scoreline for them. They've got some really good players as well that are well known around Europe. Obviously, Lacazette, who used to play for Arsenal. Obviously, Nathan Miles as well, who used to play for Arsenal. They've also got the likes of Ryan Cherki, heavily linked with a lot of Premier League clubs, including Manchester United this summer. They've got a left back as well called Tagliafico, who I've liked for quite some time now. Used to play for Ajax and under Erik ten Hag. And yeah, I thought they've got quite a few dangerous players. But for me, because their midfield is not typically fast, they've got a decent player in Tolisso, who used to play for Bayern Munich. But Matic as well, we should know when Matic used to play for us that he was slow then. So what, 2-3 years on later, maybe even 4 years, I can't remember when did Matic actually leave Man United? Because he was gone before Erik ten Hag, I swear. So you look at it and you're like, Matic probably be even slower than what he was. So you want to stock up the midfield with pace, and Matic normally plays on the left side of the midfield, so you could probably say which side would that be on? That'd be on Diogo Dalot's side, and that's where you could probably include someone like Garnacho. Maybe Garnacho will start on that right-hand side against Lyon, which should be interesting, because Garnacho's received a lot of criticism recently. And obviously he's a lot more impactful off the right, or more impactful off the bench, should we say. But on the left, he is very frustrating to watch. And for me, he's electric. For me, he does bring with that excitement. But obviously it is frustrating with the amount of attempts of shots he has, and hardly anything comes off it. So how do I expect United to set up against Lyon? Obviously, you're going to start Andre Onana, aren't you? Like, obviously, it'd be hilarious if Ruben Amorim starts Biende, but obviously, you've got to start Andre Onana, who's your starting goalkeeper. Centre-backs, obviously, De Ligt is still not with the team. We don't know how long this injury is going to be, so obviously, I think it's going to be the same back line we had against Man City. Obviously, it'll be Mazraoui, Maguire, and Yoro. Now, Yoro, this could be a moment for him. This could be a game where he's key in this team, we could say, because, obviously, I'm not really wanting to create a massive image here, but, like Lenny Yoro used to like played in the French league. You know, he's got that experience. He's played against Lyon last year. You know, he could be saying to United that, listen, I know how these guys shape up. I know that this player likes to cut in. This player likes taking extra touch. Blah 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 blah. Stick with me and let me lead tonight. And you know what? He might do, and you might see much more clinical than Euro. I mean, to be fair, he's not been dribble passing his last 12 games or something. I think it is. Like he's been brilliant. Obviously, it's just that physicality battle where he concerns me a little bit. But obviously, he's only 19. He's got many years to beef up and become much more dominating physical centre back. But right now, he's tricky. He's slick. He's like silk pretty much, and I really like him, and I think he's maturing and growing with confidence as each game passes, and I think he's looking like a really good signing for us at the moment. Obviously, yeah, but obviously I went off a tangent there. Wing backs, Patrick Dorgu and Diogo Dalot. I mean, it's interesting to see because I was thinking, do we start Dorgu as a right wing back in this game? Because Dorgu, obviously, when he was at Lecce, would play as a right winger and was very versatile by going forward and cutting in off his right. And obviously, his debut as well, he played against, was it Leicester City in the FA Cup? He started on the right wing back. So, you know, he's got experience, and maybe with United lacking that left footer attacker at the moment, maybe Ruben Amorim could switch something up a little bit, and maybe you might see a Luke Shaw start or come on, and you'll see Dorgu get shifted over to the right hand side. We don't know, but as it stands right now, I'm going to claim and predict that Patrick Dorgu starts on the left and Diogo Dalot starts on the right. Now, Kobe Mainoo was seen in training as well, and for me, this is interesting because I don't think he'll start, much like what Ruben Amorim did with Mason Mount. He'll nurture him back in. He'll probably make an appearance off the bench, won't he? But we'll have to see. But for me, as it stands, I would definitely be starting Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. Now, Ugarte, you know, he got hooked in our most recent game, and you know, it's interesting to see about. Well, no, he didn't get hooked. Was it the Nottingham Forest game I'm thinking of? I can't remember. But, you know, Ugarte, not he's been bad, but he's almost been invisible recently. I haven't really seen much of Ugarte recently. And, you know, I really like Ugarte. I think that, obviously, with the way he plays, with the aggression and the way he can intercept the ball and dictate play, you know, he's a very good player. But Casemiro has just been absolutely phenomenal recently, and I'm pretty sure in the Europa League, this is where, you know, his confidence has grown because he looks so mature and looks like the Casemiro of old almost. And Bruno, I think he should be playing in that midfield too. He's been so much better, and he offers that extra attacking threat when it comes to coming in on the edge of the box. But yeah, front three as well. Obviously, it picks for itself, doesn't it? You want to say. I mean, maybe Mason Mount might start. You don't know, but as I stand, I'm going to say Xerxes, Garnacho and Højlund. It's the front three that started against Real Sociedad, and you know it seems to be our best attacking options at this moment in time that's currently available. But I won't be surprised if someone like Mason Mount starts. But as it stands, yeah, my starting 11 would be Onana, Mazraoui, Maguire, Yoro, Dorgu, Dalot, Bruno and Casemiro, and then Garnacho and Xerxes and Højlund. So I feel like that, how do we get past this Lyon side? Obviously, you need to not concede early because this Lyon side know how to score goals. That Ryan Cherky for me is their main key threat. But like I said at the start of the video, they've got quite a few good players that a lot of Premier League fans or United fans should know from their time in the Premier League, or if they like to watch some European games as well. You should be well known with a few players that Lyon have, and you know, it's going to be interesting because obviously you get into that stage now of the competition where it's knockout football and it's all or nothing almost. Every team's going to be looking at it now. We're in the quarterfinals. Literally, we're 5 games away from the final. Like, we need to get this job done and we need to be winning this game. So you look at it and you're like, every team's going to be thinking the same, right? Who's playing who? what results it going to be, what time do they kick off, who's injured, who's not. I can guarantee you every single team now who's in that quarter-final of the Europa League and in every other European competition as well will be looking at the oppositions and being like, right, okay, that's the scoreline, that he played who, that player did this, he scored that, he assisted that, this is how you've got to be thinking like this if you want to win the competition. You've not just got to be thinking about your next opponent, you've got to be thinking about who's who, who's dangerous, who's the best player for each team, blah, blah, blah. And obviously Ruben Amorim likes to talk about how he takes it one game at a time. But for the Premier League, I understand that. But for the Europa League, you can't be thinking like that. You need to be thinking a few steps ahead at this point. You can't be going game by game by game in a huge knockout tournament, because obviously, like I said at the start of the season, United season's over if United don't win in the Europa League. So to keep the fans on board, and I just don't want us to get embarrassed. You know, if you want to keep the fans on board and you want to make it positive going into next season and don't make it miserable, then, you know, you want to try and at least fight. You know, if we get turned over tonight by Lyon, but it's an end-to-end game and Lyon are just a better team because they're at home, then you've got to accept that. But if we play this pragmatic football, which we have done a few times under Amorim and obviously Ten Hag at the start of the season, where it's players that aren't gelling, or it's missed passes, or it's stupid decisions like shooting when there's a pass available and you try and take on three players. I'm looking at you, Garnacho, and you lose the ball. You know, it's you need to be careful, and obviously every United fan wants United to win the Europa League. That's evidently clear, because obviously that's our only chance to get European football next season. Now, do I think United will win the Champions League next season? Absolutely not. But for me, it's the finance more than anything. Obviously, you get to see United possibly win another trophy as well, which is always beautiful and magical. But at the same time, you want to look at it and you're like, obviously, I know money's not everything about football, but where we're finishing in the Premier League, our finances are going to be low. No doubt we'll have to sell to buy. But if we're in the Champions League, that's a huge amount of money that United can get for next season and possibly bring it in. That's like winning the Europa League could be an extra one, like, crucial starting signing, or two or three squad players that could make the difference next season for Ruben Amorim's side. Like, and that's what you need to think about. Like, with obviously Ineos have spent money. They did well for Ten Hag in his first season, but you know, obviously they've only been here one season when it comes to spending. Obviously they invested in Patrick Dorgu as well in January, but with Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying that United would have run out of cash in December, in his Gary Neville interview, you know, you look at it and you're like, how much money do we have for next season if we don't win the Europa League? And is it going to be just one or two signs you have to sell, the likes of Garnacho or Mainu? And obviously these are players that I personally don't want us to sell, but we might have to if you need to suit Ruben Amorim's system. This is why winning the Europa League is so important for Ruben Amorim's future, I think, because this summer we have to get it right. Obviously it's the World Cup next year, and I think it's also the Club World Cup as well. So you've got a lot of games coming up, and we have to get it right this summer, in my personal opinion. So anyway, I've got a bit of a tangent there, but my score prediction for tonight: just don't lose. I'll take a 1-0. I'll take a 2-1, whatever. I just want United to win, because, you know, away from home we've looked good. It's at home where we've struggled a little bit, and obviously in the Europa League we've done relatively well. But at the same time, I just look at it and I'm like, just please win, because I don't think a draw is good enough. Obviously, a loss is unacceptable, but a draw, you look at it and you're like, is that going to be enough? And I feel like you just want to have the biggest positive and the biggest advantage going into the second leg at Old Trafford, and that's how I see it. But anyway, thank you for watching. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if you are new. Comment down below your score predictions as well, and I'll see you in the next one.